Imagine a scenario where the most formidable maritime empire ever known harbored an intense fear of the very element that defined its existence. Rome, with its formidable legions unrivaled on land, regarded the sea as an alien and menacing force. Their realm was characterized by weathered paths, resilient strongholds, and a steadfast adherence to order. Foot soldiers. The ocean was claimed by others, the Greeks, the Venetians, along with their descendants, the Carthaginians. The waves embraced them as home, while ships served as an extension of their very being,
They struck our
of
coastal
their
settlements.
forms. However, history offered Rome a final demand. Either master the ocean, or be devoured by it and your foes. This tale unfolds in a realm of agrarian cultivators and warriors, a people unfamiliar with the art of crafting warships, yet they did not. Understanding the strategies of naval warfare compelled them to dominate the oceans. They didn't merely learn, they transformed the game, converting naval confrontations into terrestrial skirmishes on buoyant stages. View the video until the conclusion, and you will discover how a clever yet rudimentary mechanism was created out of sheer necessity, enabled the Romans to transform their primary weakness into a significant strength. What if I revealed to you that everything you thought you knew about the legendary Roman military might and the notion of dominance remains unfinished and overlooks a vital element? We often envision Grand Rome as a vast maritime empire whose unwavering strength reached unimpeded across the expansive Mediterranean from Spain to Egypt. However, at the outset of their historical journey, the Romans were solely a terrestrial agrarian force comprised of peasants, with a mentality firmly grounded in the careful ways of farmers and tillers of the soil, rather than that of daring sailors and explorers. The ocean was an alien and unwelcoming force for those who were raised amidst the rolling hills and expansive fields, far removed from the vast waters. Coast. For the average Roman of the 3rd century BC, the boundless ocean was a foreboding origin of unfounded dread and a plethora of beliefs steeped in superstition, instead of an alluring chance for commerce and domination. It was an utterly unforeseen and lethal force that filled the space. In their rudimentary imagination,
This
like
new
fearsome
bridge design
legendary
will
creatures like
revolutionize naval
Scylla
combat.
and Charybdis. Their whole, the traditional economy, conservative culture, and established military doctrine were deeply and inseparably connected to the firm foundation underfoot. The Romans exuded confidence solely on the terrain where they could establish a campsite and engage in battle with strategic alignment. Although the ocean took away this foundation in both a literal and metaphorical sense, they systematically constructed the finest straight roads in the known world using stone instead of swift vessels adorned with sails. The true military prowess resided in the distinctive capability of a well-trained legion to progress steadily and with unwavering determination on land, establish fortified encampments by nightfall, and relentlessly obliterate any foe within a close-knit array of spears. Water, nonetheless, entirely stripped them of everything these challenging tactical advantages, making them ineffective. Upon a gentle sway on the deck, constructing a phalanx or excavating a trench proved to be an impossible task. All the lessons imparted to Roman soldiers. Since childhood, it has lost its significance in naval combat, where distinct laws of physics and strategies prevail. Their initial early vessels were remarkably scarce and awkward, crafted solely for careful navigation along the coast. The coastline and modest commerce along the shores of their homeland, Italy, kept them close to familiar waters. The Romans clearly fell short in both centuries of accumulated seafaring experience and sophisticated shipbuilding technologies, for the assembly of truly vast military fleets comprising hundreds of vessels. They gazed with trepidation and jealousy at the esteemed naval forces of their era. Carthage, Rhodes, Athens, in a manner reminiscent of historical narratives. A humble villager gazes at the distant stars, bewildered by the notion of existence upon the water's surface. Powerful Carthage, the rightful successor to the ancient Phoenician seafaring traditions of millennia, dominated the western Mediterranean reigns supreme, exuding confidence as the unquestioned authority. Their extensive fleet of numerous swift, the vessels were remarkably agile and quick, operated by skilled crews who were intimately familiar with every gust of wind and up to date. For the Carthaginians, naval combat represented a refined discipline of warfare characterized by rapid and agile maneuvers, exact trajectory computations, and devastating impact against the enemy vessel's prow.
We must reinforce the Corvus
Their
pivot
try
immediately.
was the ultimate weapon.
Great. What about the weight
From their
implications
time,
for the deck?
refined through
My
ages
sketches
of
account for
development, the unseasoned Romans, however, found themselves utterly incapable of struggle. So skillfully upon the water, adhering to the adversary's guidelines. Their limited, cumbersome vessels were awkward imitations of foreign models, along with their novice sailors, were utterly unseasoned in maritime matters and faced challenges due to motion sickness on the sea. Any effort to audaciously confront Carthage's supremacy in its own realm appeared quite evident. Despair and insanity for all. The Carthaginians could have obliterated the Roman fleet within mere hours, using their significant edge and expertise and agility over the cumbersome Roman vessels. This, an inherent and unfounded dread of the ocean, coupled with a total incapacity to manage military operations on water, were the primary strategic weakness of the swiftly expanding Rome during the 3rd century BC. They managed to exert control over the entire Apennine Peninsula was dominated by their legions. Yet they found themselves effectively confined to their own territory, bound by unseen restraints. The ocean loomed as an unyielding fortress, a confining wall of water, instead of a handy pathway to fresh and alluring victories and wealth. Every wave served as a poignant reminder of the boundaries of the might and aspirations of Rome. The visionary Romans grasped with clarity from hard-earned lessons that until they significantly addressed this crucial issue of maritime dominance,
we must reinforce the Corvus pivot
their
immediately.
expansion
The stress
and
is too
impact
great. What about
would
the
be
weight
greatly
implications for the
confined
deck?
to the territory.
My sketches account for that.
Any adversary possessing a formidable navy could devastate their unprotected coastline through relentless raids. Total freedom from consequences and entirely obstruct their essential maritime grain commerce. This was a degrading state of vulnerability. The proud and highly ambitious Roman populace could not psychologically endure for long without sacrificing their self-respect. One must conquer the trepidation of the ocean. Otherwise, Rome would be destined to stay a mere regional land power, devoid of prospects. Their acute recognition of vulnerability amidst the vastness of the sea transformed into a compelling driving force for the most remarkable and unparalleled military evolution and ingenuity in ancient times. Rome was compelled to venture into navigate the vast ocean and dominate it to ensure survival as a formidable force, ultimately vanquishing Carthage in the impending conflict. Furthermore, to accomplish this remarkable objective, they needed to fundamentally and profoundly reconsider the essence of naval warfare from start anew, casting aside convention. The unachievable had to transform into reality through the strength of Roman determination and engineering. The Romans embodied pragmatism and realism in every aspect of their lives. From their experiences, they came to realize that merely imitating the strategies and tools of the adversary will not automatically ensure victory and triumph over the masters.
The sea is ours.
I would greatly
Rome's bounty
appreciate your
flow
thoughtful
freely
perspective
once
on
more.
this strategy. Inquiry. What do you believe is more crucial and impactful for attaining success against a stronger opponent? Foe. Fully embracing the adversary's established strategies and approaches, or daringly creating a groundbreaking and distinctive approach that capitalizes on your abilities. Kindly provide your well-thought-out reasoning. We invite you to express your thoughts on this matter in the comments section below, providing specific examples to support your perspective. Are you prepared to uncover the reality of how a single conflict altered the trajectory of history for all time?
The fleet waits for
It
no
all
man.
started in Sicily, an island of great wealth and strategic significance. It emerged as a point of conflict between Rome and Carthage. This struggle, the event that would be recorded in history
Commander,
as the
the
First
Corvus is
Punic
ready.
War,
Its
served as
spike
the
will
driving
ensure boarding
force that
success.
propelled Rome
Excellent
into the
work,
depths
engineer.
of the sea.
This will change naval
At
warfare.
the outset, the conflict was engaged in battle on the grounds of Sicily. The Roman legions exuded a sense of confidence here. They systematically advanced. The Carthaginian garrisons seized city after city, one by one. Yet the Romans soon encountered a seemingly unbeatable challenge. Carthage, with its dominance over the sea, was able to effortlessly provision its fortresses on the island. Reinforcements, provisions, and armaments were introduced,
The pirate raids
ensuring
threaten our
that
very
any
grain
siege
supply.
would be
Their
prolonged
strongholds
and
must be
wearisome.
swiftly neutralized.
Our intelligence
Furthermore,
confirms multiple
the fleet of
fortified coastal
Carthage
sites.
relentlessly launched raids along the shores of Italy. They laid waste to coastal towns and villages, diverting Roman forces and eroding the economy. The Roman army found itself unable to respond to this challenge. Roman commanders swiftly came to understand a fundamental truth. Winning the war for Sicily was an unattainable goal without mastery over the sea lanes, resulting in it. Triumph on land held no significance while the adversary ruled the seas. The Senate encountered a destined decision: either concede and abandon Sicily, or strive for the extraordinary. Construct a formidable fleet from the ground up, one that can rival the most dominant maritime force of the era. For practical and resolute Rome, the solution was clear. This choice was remarkable in its audacity and magnitude. Rome possessed none designs for naval vessels, a lack of skilled engineers, and above all, no skilled teams. They were forced to start from the beginning, and amid the chaos of war, they realized their limitations. To outdo the Carthaginians in their classic strategies centered around maneuvering and ramming, this art was acquired through study throughout the ages. The Romans sought to devise an unconventional response that would counter all of the adversary's strengths. In this pivotal moment of urgency and need, the Roman
This
naval
new bridge
doctrine
design
came into
will
existence.
revolutionize naval combat.
It stemmed not from a desire to be the finest sailors, but from a wish to carry to the sea what they truly were: superior when it comes to land.
They outnumber us,
The
my
idea
general.
revolved around the art of naval boarding combat. However, to put into action, this idea required vessels capable of not only pursuing the adversary, but also enduring fierce confrontations. Yet, how would you construct a ship if you have no prior experience in doing so? In the upcoming chapter, you will discover the remarkable gift of destiny guided the Romans in acquiring their adversary's most crucial secret. What I am about to reveal to you was an authentic and extraordinary event for the Romans. In the early days of the war, when the Romans first recognized the necessity for a fleet, destiny bestowed upon them an extraordinary treasure of regal proportions. In the midst of a naval clash along the Italian coast, a Carthaginian Pantara, or Quinquerem, the flagship of the era, found itself ensnared in a tempest and cast upon the shore. For the Romans, this was more than mere military plunder. It was the essential element toward what lies ahead. The vessel remained virtually unscathed. and now they possessed a tangible illustration of Carthage's cutting-edge maritime innovation. They had secured not merely a trophy, but an intricate blueprint crafted by their foes. The captured ship swiftly turned into the focal point of rigorous examination. The finest Roman engineers and craftsmen assembled to dismantle it meticulously, piece by piece. They meticulously measured each element and thoroughly studied every knot and joint. They aimed to grasp not just the design, but also the underlying philosophy that informed it.
Too great. What about
The
weight
analysis was
implications for the
conducted,
deck?
the contours of
My
the hull,
sketches account for that.
the configuration of the oars, and the aesthetics of the masts and sails. This was all carried out to grasp the methods by which the Carthaginians attained remarkable speed and agility. The Romans exhibited remarkable engineering prowess, and they swiftly understood the fundamental concepts. They approached it with discernment, carefully selecting what to incorporate. Rather, they modified the tailor to their specific requirements, and crucially, to their production capabilities. As the engineers were, as the trophy was examined closely, directives spread across Italy to commence the construction of a fleet that mirrored its form and essence. It was a monumental undertaking. Countless trees were cut down and transformed through processing. Shipyards needed to be readied, and countless workers needed to be gathered. The Romans implemented their distinctive method in the art of shipbuilding, uniformity, and large-scale manufacturing. They developed a system where distinct components of the vessel, frames, the keel and planking were crafted to consistent specifications. This enabled vessels to be put together like a building kit, greatly accelerating the procedure. It is said that during the time when the ships were, as construction progressed, the future crews commenced their training, but that discussion will come later. The most important aspect is that the seizure of a solitary enemy vessel enabled Rome to narrow its technological divide, which in typical situations it would have required decades to surmount. A pivotal moment had arrived. Rather than attempting to construct their own vessel through experimentation, through trial and error, the Romans discovered a solution that was both ready-made and proven. They effectively appropriated the technology from their adversary and wielded it as a weapon against them. This episode brilliantly showcases the Roman perspective on innovation. They may not have created anything entirely original, but they excelled at borrowing, adapting, and enhancing the ideas of others, elevating them to a state of practical excellence.
Faster! The fleet
Can you
waits
imagine
for no
the time
man.
it took to construct this? With the blueprints in hand, Rome embarked on a new, even grander
Match
endeavor,
the stroke!
transform this knowledge into a tangible fleet. This necessitated the
Commander, the Corvus is
mobilization
ready.
of all the
Its fight
resources
will
of the
ensure boarding
Republic
success.
and showcased
Excellent
the
work,
distinctive
engineer.
organizational
This will change
abilities
naval
of the
warfare.
Romans. A monumental construction endeavor has commenced. The initial wood stood as the most vital resource. A substantial quantity of premium timber was required to construct over 100 quanquermes and triumphs. Teams were dispatched across Italy to identify and fell appropriate trees. Conifers and evergreens for the hull, oak will serve for the keel and frames. The cut trees needed to be moved to the coast, where shipyards awaited,
Strongholds must be
were constructed with great
Our
haste.
intelligence confirms multiple
The
fortified
Romans
coastal
skillfully
sites.
utilized their remarkable network of roads and river routes for transportation. It was an intricate logistical endeavor that demanded meticulous planning. The shipyards buzzed with activity, each worker immersed in their tasks. The Romans structured the process following the conveyor belt principle. A number of workers were involved in the production of keys, some captured in frames and others set against planking. This area of expertise construction has progressed at an impressive pace. They lacked centuries of shipbuilding experience similar to their adversaries. Consequently, they depended on accurate computations and uniformity and rigorous quality oversight. Every component was crafted based on a unified design, guaranteeing seamless interchangeability and rapidity of construction. Reports indicate an astonishing fact. The inaugural Roman fleet comprised 100 Quinker MS and 20 TRI vessels, within a mere 2 months. This figure appears remarkable, yet it signifies a tremendous focus of energy and assets. The whole Republic united in the effort to build its fleet. Alongside the building of work was in progress to produce all the essential equipment for the hulls. Countless oars, myriad masses, a vast amount of rope, and square meters of sailcloth were produced in significant quantities. It was a genuine industrial transformation in the ancient realm. The Romans implemented their own modifications to the ship's design. They adjusted it a bit more robust and powerful than the Carthaginian model.
Our very grain supply.
Their aim was not to achieve the highest velocity,
intelligence confirms
but rather to
fortified
ensure
coastal
stability
sites.
and the capacity to endure boarding skirmishes. This monumental endeavor showcased Rome's primary strength. Their capacity the ability to organize and mobilize was unparalleled. They could transform a whole nation into one vast military encampment, striving for one objective. The launch of the first ships was truly a magnificent spectacle. Just yesterday, Rome was without a fleet, and today a powerful fleet lay anchored in the harbor. Yet vessels are merely hollow shells. What actions can you take when you lack individuals capable of navigating them? In the upcoming chapter, you will discover how the Romans mastered the art of rowing without ever setting foot on the water. Ocean. With the advent of ships in Rome, the most challenging dilemma emerged. Teams. There were virtually no seasoned sailors in the Republic, and to man a single quinquereme demanded approximately 300 rowers whose actions needed to be transformed into complete automatism. The Carthaginians had refined their abilities through countless generations. The rowers exhibited a level of professionalism that allowed them to execute the most intricate maneuvers with precision and ease. In contrast, the Romans had to assemble these teams from the ground up and in the briefest time frame. Here, they implemented a clever and unconventional approach.
This new bridge design
Understanding
will
that
revolutionize
training
naval
directly on
combat.
the water would be lengthy and perilous, they shifted the training to the ground. Along the entire coast, specialized training camps were established.
They outnumber us,
Within
my
these
general.
camps, wooden platforms were constructed to perfectly mimic the decks and rowers' benches found on an actual ship. The future crews perched upon these structures much like they would have on a quink rim. They grasped genuine oars in their hands. A special officer issued the commands, setting the rhythm with either a hammer or a flute. The recruits, a significant number of whom having never encountered the sea in their lives, they discovered the most crucial lesson: synchronization. They engaged in a cohesive movement, twisting and fracturing. The training sessions proved to be quite draining. Day after day, from dawn to dusk, countless individuals occupied wooden benches, rhythmically swaying their oars. They refined their movements into instinctual actions, enabling them to respond in battle without the need for conscious thought. The approach effectively addressed multiple issues simultaneously. Initially, it was entirely secure. There was no danger of losing vessels or individuals as a result of clumsy decisions. Additionally, it enabled a significant number of rowers to receive training simultaneously while the vessels were still under construction. As the fleet stood poised for departure, the crews, still in the midst of their training, stepped aboard the vessels. Everything they needed to do, they applied the skills they had mastered on land to the water. Certainly, they were devoid of genuine maritime experience, yet the
We must
groundwork
reinforce the
had
Corvus
already
pivot
been
immediately. The
established.
stress is too great. What
This
about the weight
installment of
implications for the
terrestrial
deck?
training
My
achieved
sketches
legendary
account for that.
status. It showcases the Romans exemplified a practical approach, demonstrating an impressive knack for devising straightforward and efficient solutions to intricate challenges. They were unable to match the enemy's experience in competition. Thus, they depended on rigorous training and practice. Consequently, when the Roman fleet first set sail, it was crewed by individuals who, while perhaps not expert sailors, possessed the necessary knowledge to navigate the seas, the paramount aspect. They mastered the art of rowing together, each stroke executed with strength and precision at the signal. As for the innovative strategies of the Romans, that was sufficiently ample. The Romans grasped with clarity that even with newly constructed ships and skill, the rowers would find it challenging to overcome the Carthaginians in a battle that required agility and maneuverability. Ram tactics demanded meticulous precision, abilities that were previously lacking. A strategy had to be devised to impose their unique combat style upon the adversary.
The hour is upon
In that
us, my
moment,
loyal commanders.
an unnamed
Today,
Roman engineer
we eradicate
devised
the
a contraption
pirate menace.
that altered the
Victory will be
course of
swift
battle.
and absolute.
It was
Fire the
straightforward,
ballista. Board
raw,
that ship.
yet remarkably potent. It has been etched into the annals of history as the Corvus or Crow. The Raven was a substantial boarding bridge, measuring approximately 11 meters in length and just over a meter
is
in width.
ours, and Rome's
It was
bounty
affixed to
flow
the bow
freely
of a
once
Roman
more.
vessel, allowing it to pivot effortlessly around a vertical mast. This enabled it to be directed toward any point. A colossal, pointed iron spike, akin to the beak of a raven, was secured to the lower part of the bridge at its distant edge. The device earned its name from this spike. This surge was the central component of the design. The mechanism of operation was remarkably clever in its straightforwardness. A vessel of Rome drew near a hostile ship. As the distance dwindled to its barest point, the Crow maintained a rope fell sharply into a vertical position onto the enemy's deck.
Faster.
The bridge
The
collapsed
fleet
under its
waits for
own
no
weight,
man.
and its fierce spike drove into the enemy deck, splintering the boards with tremendous power. The vessels were securely intertwined. The Carthaginian. The captain has forfeited the most
Corvus is
crucial
ready.
element,
Its spike will
the
ensure
freedom to
boarding
maneuver.
success. Excellent work,
In that
engineer.
instant,
This will
the
change
segment
naval
of the
warfare.
conflict commenced where the Romans stood unparalleled. Legionnaires surged onto the enemy's deck through the boarding bridge. The naval engagement swiftly transformed into a confrontation on land. The Romans introduced to the sea their accumulated knowledge superior, engaging in tight formation, brandishing swords and shields. The crews of Carthage, primarily made up of the rowers, along with a limited contingent of marines, found themselves unready for this situation.
Pirate raids threaten our very grain supply.
They were unable to
Their strongholds
endure
must
the
be swiftly
rigorous and the
neutralized.
formidable
Our
Roman
intelligence
infantry
confirms multiple
positioned
fortified
on their own
coastal
deck.
sites.
The Corvus revolutionized the entire landscape. It rendered all that the Carthaginians excelled in their swiftness and agility on the battlefield. The result of the conflict was determined not through clever tactics, but by the power and preparation of the boarding team. This creation was the epitome of Roman military brilliance. They refrained from attempting to outdo the enemy in their strengths. Rather, they fashioned a weapon that embraced their unique strengths through its asymmetrical design. However, how does a straightforward yet brilliant device function in the midst of an actual naval battle? In the forthcoming chapter, you will discover how the Raven faced its inaugural trial by fire, the initial significant challenge for the new Roman. The fleet's hidden advantage lay in the Battle of Melis, fought in 260 BC. The fleet, led by Consul Gast Duilius, faced off against the seasoned Carthaginian forces.